Right, I just called up my Google history from yesterday, just strictly YouTube searches, um, and this was yesterday, so that was the first video that I began watching yesterday at 10:44 p.m. So at 8:31 p.m. I emailed my mother, Tuesday, April the 16th, 2 days ago, April the 16th. So I emailed my mum on April the 16th at 8:31 p.m. That's the email. At 8:33 p.m. she replies, and then I send her another email at 8:54 p.m. asking her if it's okay to come by later. At 8:56 p.m. she says, yeah, that's fine. 9:47 p.m. I email her again. 10:15 p.m. she emails me back. 10:26 p.m. I email her. Okay, so at 11:04 p.m. I notify that I'll be coming up on the bike, and I'll be coming along the canal. I don't actually say that because I'm just saying that's the route I always take to go to my mother's house and cycle along the canal at night. So at 11:04 I'm telling her I'll be coming in another hour or two. So that's the 16th of April. So I'm just trying to make sense of this now. So on the 16th of April, at 1:31 a.m. So we're looking at the 17th of April. So I'm looking for YouTube videos from the 17th of April because it's the 17th, it's 1 hour into the 17th of April when I actually set off to my mother's house. So a fish head, a giant fish head, someone's placing a giant fish head, just the head, into a tank of, looks like 400 piranhas it says here. 400 piranha versus giant fish head. And he just basically dangles it over the fish tank, over the water, and then just lowers it into the fish tank. I just want to quickly finish this off. That was video recording before, but my battery drained low. I got a low battery warning, so I had to just charge up a little bit. So, like I said, last night I recorded a video while I was out cycling, and I cycled up to my mum's and along the canal, and I then cycled back from my mother's. I then noticed something in the canal water that was quite large, and I rode right past it, and then I came back to have a look at what it was, and it turned out it was a huge fish. Something I'd never seen in the canal before, ever. Certainly not that size. I mean, I'd seen big fish, but I mean talking foot-long fish. That's big for the canal. So this thing was 3 feet in length. It was huge for the canal. And it appeared to have, I mean, I recorded it so I can show this, but it appeared to have some kind of like deteriorating plastic bag coming out of its mouth, as though it'd been suffocated trying to swallow it. So I thought, okay, yeah, fair enough, people have thrown litter in, and as a result this poor fish now is dead. And then I started talking about, you know, why did they not have litter bins along the canal, and then it could have saved this fish's life. But then I started thinking, well, you know, it's actually trapped between two locks. It's a very narrow canal, water, and yet the two locks that it's trapped between are like maybe 300 yards apart, and it didn't add up once I started thinking about it, that a fish this size would be in water such a small stretch of water. It just wouldn't make sense that a fish could grow that large, because there's not enough food. There's not enough food to sustain it to that kind of size. So when I gave it some consideration, I came back home, and I thought, when I came back home and gave it a bit of thought, I started thinking, it looks like someone's actually placed that in the canal. They've actually placed it, although there was a plastic bag coming from its mouth. It looks like it's been placed there, because there was no signs of rotting or kind of deterioration on the body. It looked like like it just recently died. Like it was just like, as if it had been frozen in ice or something and then placed in the canal, because there was no signs of rotting and nothing. There's nothing in the canal big enough to predate on it. There was like a little tiddly fish swimming around it, but you know it would have took it centuries to finish off that meal. So it definitely looked like it had been placed there. So then I thought, well, that's weird. Why would someone do that? So, like I was saying, just before I set out, you can see there's very little time difference between these videos, like 12:32, 12:59, 1:01, 1:05, 1:06, 1:08. That's because I'm in the house. And then between 1:08 AM and 2:45 AM, I'm out cycling. And the next video I watch once I come back home is at 2:45 AM. The last video I watched before I leave home is 1:08 AM. And the video that I watched was at 1:01 AM. Like I said, I sent my mum. I was having some email correspondence to my mum. I told her at 11 o'clock, just after 11 PM, 2 hours before I watched this video, that I was coming up the canal. So I'd already sent that email to her and told her, notified her that I was coming. And then at 1:01 AM, on my YouTube recommendations, I'd not actually deliberately set out to watch this video. It was on my YouTube recommendations on shorts. I clicked on this video out of curiosity, and it was this. It was titled 400 Piranha vs Giant Fish Head. So I thought, okay, well, I'll watch that. See what kind of light work they make of the meal. But it's like a short from a longer video, so you don't really see much in the short anyway. But this is what I watched just before I set out on the cycle, just 10 minutes before I set out on the cycle. And the next video I watch after that, when I come back home, is at 2:45 AM. So in between that, I've recorded a video in which I've cycled along the canal and noticed this huge fish that I'd never seen a fish that big in the canal ever. I've never seen a fish that big, full stop, ever. Never seen a fish that big ever in my life, and it's the biggest fish I've ever seen. And there it is in this stretch of canal where it's trapped between two locks, and it seems to have grown to that size. So God knows how it's grown to that size, and no fisherman have ever actually pulled that out of the water before, because that's a pretty conspicuous looking fish to me for that size of water. And the fact that no one's ever fished that out of that water, the only way it could have got into that water is if it got in there somehow. Yeah, but it doesn't seem to be a canal fish. That's the strange thing about it. It doesn't appear to be a canal fish. I mean, I'm no expert on fishing, so I can't identify what type of fish it is. But the only way it could have got in there is when when a barge would be lowering the lock levels to proceed further on, and you know it just doesn't seem very likely that would happen, because it's still in the canal anyway. It's still in the canal. It's just going beyond those locks to get to the next section. It just doesn't seem like it's the right size for that canal, for that kind of water. And it just, the more I think about it, and the more I thought about it, it just seemed like it'd been placed there. And that was just half an hour, not even half an hour after I watched that video at 1:01 AM, 10 minutes before I set out. And the fish looks exactly that same size. It's almost the same size. If you imagine the body of that fish, it's about 3 feet, and that's exactly what size the head was. And I've got the video to show this. So that happening with half an hour of me watching that video, 10 minutes before I set out, and then seeing the biggest fish I've ever seen in my life outside of a tank. I mean, come on, seriously. killed that? Oh, it's eaten some litter that's thrown into the canal. That is unbelievable. It's eaten a bag or something, got it caught in its mouth. Can you believe that? Look at the size of that as well. Fucking hell, that's about... That's about 3 feet. 3 feet in length. I don't know what kind of fish it is, I'm no expert on fishing, but you can see there it's got something in its mouth. It looks like it's swallowed a bag. It seems perfectly alright otherwise. It's got a bag hanging from its mouth. It looks like it might have suffocated on the bag. That is just unbelievable. Look at the size of that thing. How old is that fish? To die like that. This is what I mean about like having litter bins on the canal. That could have saved the fish's life. Just having litter bins, there's nowhere to be seen. People just chuck stuff in the canal. They chuck it on the pathway. It's not really their fault. It's you know, if you don't provide the litter bins, how can people dispose of the litter in the right way? And that fish has just died as a result of that. 3 fucking feet long. It must be fucking years old. That's one of the biggest fish I've ever seen, personally. Certainly the biggest one I've ever seen in this canal. That was probably the king of this canal. You won't find a bigger fish than that in this canal. I've seen sharks more than that. And dies because it's suffocated on a fucking plastic bag. The only way it could have swallowed that is if the plastic bag was in the water. The only reason the plastic bag's in the water is because there's no litter bins. Oh, dear. The same colour as what's in the fish's mouth.